Hello, if you're a man over 50, this is for you. If you're feeling weak, tired, heavy, or like your best years are behind you, I promise you, just stay in for a couple minutes here and I'll explain the basic vitality protocol that has allowed me at age 67, a former New York Yankee outfielder turned knuckleballer, to train to become the oldest MLB player in history. You might say, Tom, how is this even possible? Over the last 50 years, I've developed this vitality protocol, which has allowed me to do things in my 60s that most baseball players can't do in their 20s and 30s. I've trained many people over the years and been associated with many great people. This is Bob Engelman here in the middle. He's one of the original Letterman. They had like 11 gold records. This is one of the things he said about my book. I've took 12 years out of my life to research and write this book. He might say, Tom, how can it take you that long to write a book? I didn't use AI. I just started with a blank piece of paper and principles of exercise, nutrition, a healthy mind, and a healthy spirit. You know, when you talk about things like cancer and heart disease and where to put your money when you die, and the other things I talk about, you really need to have your facts based up or backed up. So I have about 400 references in this book. But this is what Bob said about my book. I've known Tom for many years. I greatly admire his strength and skill. I highly recommend this book to anyone interested in living a healthier life, especially those who are up in age like me and want to enjoy a higher quality of life until the day they die. This is Dr. L.J. Sylvester. He was on my chair for my master's thesis at BYU. He wrote the concepts in Tom's book. He actually broke the world record 6 times. Amazing athlete. Concepts in Tom's book will help anyone live a healthy, happy, robust, fulfilling, and righteous life. This is Grandmaster Jun Rhee. I trained Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee. He's known as the father of Taekwondo in America. I was honored to train with him. This is what he said. I love the way Tom has integrated the body, mind, and spirit in his book. His message has brought appeal and will help those who read it to create more health, happiness, and peace. Now, I've been a trainer in New York City and Beverly Hills, California. I've worked with, literally hundreds of people in between my baseball and my golf career. I'm also a pro golfer, hoping to play out there on the senior tour in a few Champions Tour events. We'll see how it goes. But this is Jim Heffinger. He lost 20 pounds and feels more energy and vitality. I've gotten to know Tom Wright quite well over the last few years. His insights have really helped me now that I'm moved into my 60s and trying to slow down the aging process. His suggestions on exercise and particularly diet have been especially helpful to me. Now, there's some reasons why people, have problems when they get older, and a lot of times they're trying to train like they did when they're in their 20s. They're training too hard, getting injured and quitting. They're following generic fitness advice that, isn't built for men over 50. And they're following a fitness guru that might be on steroids, human growth hormone, or testosterone. You might look good, but he's really not healthy. And a lot of times these guys aren't very strong. So here's a picture of me, example is the best teacher, right? Here's a picture of me squatting 500 pounds or 300 pounds 5 times. I actually squatted 500 pounds in competition, but here I'm just doing 300 pounds here. And without a weight belt, this is pretty light for me. I could have probably gone up to 400, but I hadn't been going heavy for a while, so I didn't want to push it. Here's a front page article of me in spring training with the AA pro baseball team. At age 56, my main pitch was a knuckleball, but my fastball was still 84. Here's another video I put up a couple years ago. I'm still this strong today, 300 pounds, 10 times. The good Lord's blessed me with health and strength. I've never taken a PED or testosterone or any pills or any performance enhancing drugs in my life. So I've done this all drug free and through a lot of hard work and the blessings of the Lord. And the purpose is to teach you, how to get these same blessings and vitality and strength. You don't need to deadlift 300 pounds and squat 300 pounds, but you would like, I'm sure, to play with your grandkids and, not deal with pain and all the things that happen to people that don't take good care of their health. So one of the things we say is do things you enjoy. If it's tennis you like, do play tennis. If it's basketball or softball or working in the garden or whatever it is, you walking, whatever it is you like to do. I'm going to outline kind of the 6-week fitness challenge I have here. This is just a partial outline. If you want the full program, DM me strength and I'll send it to you. It's free. People wonder where I came up with the name WAVE. It stands for Worldwide Achievement, Vitality, and Excellence. When I was in college, I had a professor, Dr. Barbara Lockhart, and she's the co-host of our TV show. She was an Olympic speed skater, the best in the world for like 5 years. Basically, she explained that the intermittent exercise where you get your heart rate up and then you get it back down and then you get it back up and you get it back down in a wave type pattern is actually better for performance and better for health. And so I started doing this in my workouts, and within 3 months, my resting heart rate went from the mid 60s down into the mid 50s. So that means my heart beats 14,400 less beats per day and 5,256,000 less beats per year, which is significant. Alcohol, prescription drugs, contention, stress, obesity, and many other factors, up your heart rate. About 80% of diseases are related to stress. People go from a lot of times stressful, workout, their trainers are pushing them way too hard, not letting them rest. And then their contention at home and stress, and they can't sleep at night, and they wonder why they have health problems. So if you catch the wave and we teach you how to relax and rest in between your sets and lower your heart rate, you'll be sitting on top of the world, a Beach Boys song. So on to the programs. We have aerobic, anaerobic, and sport or activity. You choose what you want to do. We're not going to tell you what to do. If you want a weight program, we'll set one of those up. If you want to do sport or activity, you can do that too. One of the basic things in the, say walking and biking, try to go up some slight hills to kick in the back parts of your legs and your glutes, hamstrings, and quads, which are the largest muscles in your body. We really suggest those whole body movements instead of the isolated movements that most people, do in the gym. As far as your anaerobic goes, squats and deadlifts are the two best lifts in the gym. Ironically, they're also the best. They're the best lifts for athletes, but they're also the best lifts for old people. What do old people need to do? They need to be able to sit up from a chair, and they need to be able to do a deadlift movement where they bend over and pull their pants up or tie their shoe, right? And then the other thing is bench and row go together, and shoulder press and pull down. Think of push and pull, push and pull. So you really have to have that balance between the top and the bottom and the front and the back, if you want to avoid injury and have symmetry in your body. And then for your sport or activities, here's a guy working in his garden. Obviously, he's in a squatting position, which is good. And then he's bending over and pulling weeds, which is really good. But do anything you enjoy. If it's golf, don't take the cart everywhere, or try to walk as much as possible. Tennis, anything that you enjoy. That's kind of the difference in our program. Now, a lot of people, when they do things, they try to push themselves too hard, too far. This is Steve Curry. He shoots about 500 shots a day, and he's the best NBA shooter, Steph Curry, in NBA history. Greatness is more about consistency and repetition than pushing ourselves to the point of exhaustion and injury. There's a book called Russian Strength Training Secrets for Every American. He says the strongest men in the world don't train till failure. And my question is, why should you and I? We shouldn't. When we even get close to those reps that our high school coaches told us to keep going, that last rep is the best. Well, they didn't understand this basic philosophy, and that's where injury happens, when you push yourself too hard. And so let's talk about nutrition. The basic philosophy is focus on things as close to Mother Earth as possible. Again, I have a free challenge for people where you can write down everything, but the basic thing is write down everything you're eating for a week. And then, in all these areas, your fist is one serving, so an apple would be one serving of fruit. So grains, vegetables, fruits, legumes, meat, dairy, and sweets, and then do it a second week. We're trying to establish, what you've been doing for the last decade or 2 decades or however many decades you've been, however old you are. And we're trying to make improvements and establish where you're at so we know where your starting point is. So don't cheat. When you're writing things down your first week. Your second week, try to make some changes and incorporate those whole foods as close to Mother Earth as possible. You're never going to go wrong with things like fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. Pretty much everybody agrees that these things are good for us. In Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he says, start with the end in mind. Oh, what kind of life do you want at 60, 70? I'm almost 70, 80, and 90 and beyond. Do you want to live pain-free, travel the world, and play with your grandkids, or do you want to spend the last few years in an old folks' home with a debilitating disease brought on by your poor lifestyle? Not a hard question, right? If you're a man over 50 and you want to rebuild your strength vitality, DM me the word strength, and I'll show you the next step. Let's do this. All right. Cheers, Tom.